And welcome back to the Lawless Brothers Radio podcast, season 2, episode 2. What's going on?
What's cracking, friends?
Shit, man. What a day. What a day that we've had here. We've been trying to do this all day.
Yeah, we have.
We have,
We're
but
here.
I'm happy that, we found the time. Let's talk about
Yeah, man. If
The
you're,
elephant in the
watching
room.
video, if you got the video,
if you are,
pulled
yes,
up
if you are on the video
on
version.
Spotify and or YouTube,
Yes, sir.
shout out.
Shout
we got
out.
we got a little new scenery, dude.
Yeah, dude. I mean, season 2, we've just improved a lot. I feel like the flow of conversation has, gotten a lot clearer and, much more sophisticated. And I feel like with this kind of setup, hopefully you guys, if you are looking at, in Aaron's words, our beautiful faces, then, you can hopefully enjoy some of my goat, Jalen Hurts. But
Yeah,
also, there is some foreshadowing, if you can see it on the camera, for this topic. We did mention it slightly in the Dreams and Nightmares episode, but we are actually going to be talking about psychedelics.
Ooh, scary, spooky.
And you, Ryan,
Yes.
have had tons of experience, if you will,
I have a lot of experience.
to the average, compared to the average
a
person.
lot more than the average person.
Yes, for sure. I have only partaken on a singular occasion, which was actually quite recently. Recently, as in, like, this year for sure. It was probably like 3-ish months
Right.
ago. But, we do have a couple of topics that, we wanted to get to and just kind
Let's
of...
talk about this piece, man.
I mean, yeah, that too.
This is a cool. This is yours.
This is, yes.
It is, for those not watching,
Yeah.
it is a book that has two skulls kind of stacked on top
Lying
of
on
each other.
top of it, yeah.
There's moss and things growing throughout the skulls. One of the eyes has like a water fountain pouring out of it.
It's pretty sick.
There's a rose in between them. And on top we have a nice little tree. And then right on the very, very top, there's a little pair of mushrooms, which is actually perfect for this conversation and topic.
100%.
I think it's it's a really cool piece. You said you picked it up where?
I did. I picked it up. Shout out TJ Maxx. I was with my girlfriend at the time, and we were, at the time.
Yeah.
Well, technically, that is correct. I was with her at the time, but we are still very much together.
My current girlfriend.
My current girlfriend. I was with my current girlfriend. And we were just walking around shopping. We were probably looking for nothing and just ended up with some stuff. But I walked past this piece and I just thought it was like super cool. It was like the fall time as well. So like had some like Halloween decorations, and I kind of thought it kind of fit well with the greenery vibe that we had in our living room. And she was like, "Oh, I don't know." And I was like, "Nah, we got to pick this up. This thing's fucking sick." And yeah, it's super cool. And I'm super glad to have it. And of course, you have the mushrooms top right, and that's a nice foreshadowing for this
It's
conversation.
a perfect representation of how death, turns into life, which turns into death, which turns into life.
Cycles.
Cycles of life here. It's
100%.
perfect, man. Let's
But if we jump right in,
jump right in, dude.
so if we're talking psychedelics, what do you think gave you inspiration to even partake? Or maybe, we've talked a little bit about druggery and, things of that nature and how there can be peer pressure sometimes involved. But was this more of a solo, kind of inspiration for you? Or were you with some friends who suggested it? How did that happen?
Yeah, I'd love to say like the first time that I took some psychedelics was this deep, like, I want to fucking talk to God and do all these things. It was like this first thing, but no, not at all. The first interaction was not with them at all.
Okay.
My friends, actually my first experience with psychedelics was, I think, in probably post-COVID, everything was weird. We were bored. We had a lot of time to kill. A lot of people went to drinking. A lot of people went to working out. A lot of people
100%.
went to puzzles, whatever.
Dude, definitely.
And me and my friends had always we'd always smoked a lot of weed. That was definitely a thing. And funny enough, looking back now, you just have to learn that different types of weed kind of has a psychedelic nature to it, which is interesting.
Really?
Yeah, if you take enough edibles, I could argue that some of that is like
Just as psychoactive?
not as visual,
Not like hallucinogenic.
Yeah, not visually psychedelic, but like experientially psychedelic to an extent.
Okay.
But the
Real quick, that shocks me that you were as old in a way. I don't know why, but I envisioned that the first time that you took it was like much younger. But
no, I mean, dude, to an extent, like it's scary, man. If you've never done it, right? You think about like, you don't know like what is gonna happen, and the stigma behind it is definitely like, bro, you're gonna go crazy. And I feel like when I was younger, I remember a story about some kids in my high school or something that did it, and the kid like stabbed the other one a bunch of times or something crazy.
Oh
And
my
so I feel like there was
shit.
a lot of stigma around it, and it's probably honestly until you start listening to other people talk, until you're listening to other podcasts,
Yeah.
fucking shout out Joe Rogan, right? Until you for
Shout
real,
out.
until you listen to other people who are versed. If it's not in your immediate world, you're never gonna think about it, and you're never gonna like have the knowledge around doing it in or even want to, right? It's like out of sight, out of mind, right? You don't know it exists. One of my friend, and I will actually, we'll keep names out of this. Yeah. So,
For sure.
so my,
Absolutely.
my one friend who is definitely very, accustomed to taking LSD actually. So
Whoa,
this
that's
is
some, like,
we got
Beatles shit.
shrooms on the top here, but I would say actually my first experience was definitely with acid actually. And it was all post COVID. And we were just like in his yard, and me and him and one other friend took it, and it was one of those kind of like if you take an edible and you're like, shit's not hitting me, and then it fucking knocks you out, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of that experience. The first one, like when you go into when I went into it, it was more of a no idea what to expect. But really nothing too crazy happened.
Huh.
I feel like, and I can talk about the differences between acid and psilocybin, which is like mushrooms. But I felt like LSD was a lot more visual. It was a lot more visual for me. A lot more like trees kind of had this weird outline to them. It was a lot very shimmery. We were around a fire, and it was all good. Like for real, I feel like the only weird thing or like slight fear was like I remember like watching the fire go, and I thought it was like going to go all the way up and like burn the trees.
Oh, whoa. So it kind of like there was like a bit of like a visual like effect of like just like an extension.
Yeah, it
of
seemed
the
like it was
flames.
alive, and it was about to, I was like, damn, we don't know what's like. We're kind of, we're all good, but I was like, kind of feel like we should maybe, tame this fire a little bit.
I mean, not only that though, but there's always a conversation like, is fire alive? You know what I mean? And then maybe when you're more in tune with your third eye, maybe you kind of like see more of like, I don't know how to explain that, but you see it more for maybe
it
what
is
it
different.
is. But really quickly, I wanted to mention one thing.
Yeah.
You could tell me, but I feel like an old wives' tale that I was told growing up about psychedelics was like, someone said like, oh, if you take acid, then like 20 years from now, you could like just randomly trip, like you, which I feel like is just such like bullshit, right? Like it has to be.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I can't speak for that. Like I don't know.
Well, yeah.
I took acid twice, and all my other experiences were shrooms.
Yeah.
And the no, I'm with you. I've definitely heard that as like a wives' tale. It's like you crack a knuckle and you just like trip or something like that. And
exactly.
And who knows? Maybe there is some like lingering to it, but I think that's like comes down to even with the quality of the stuff you're getting and like where you're getting it, and like is it mixed with things, and who knows?
Ooh,
Like I think there's that probably plays more of a factor than you would think.
I mean, I feel like our fucking like digestive system and everything would probably be able to get everything to like run its course. You know? What I mean, like for real, like our stomach is like a vat of acid.
Sure,
you know what I mean? So like anything that we ingest, you would think no shot that's in your system 25, 30 years later. But that was something I heard like in elementary and middle school.
Dare.
Like,
we're talking about Dare. We talked about Dare a little bit before about how
like,
that's
stay away from that shit. Because one day you'll just Dude, I remember like we all heard that in class, and like we were all talking about it at lunch. We were like, "Whoa, like we can't ever do something like that."
No, right, and you just think of like hippies tripping and like like, well, what's up, dude? Like the whole like you're just out there
propaganda.
And I would say that like my relationship with these substances, these drugs, has like changed drastically since that first time I've taken them. The first one really wasn't too impactful. I remember walking to Wawa, and I remember like thinking the road was like really big. Like trying to cross like the street was like this massive adventure in its own. Is like kind of how I felt, which is weird.
No, that's like similar thing with like weed when like if you're like sitting on the couch with like your buddy and you ask him to like pass you the remote and he's like, it's so far. So if anything, you were just
Yeah.
like, that was like extendo.
And yeah, and before we get into the next one, actually speaking of weed, like that's kind of the difference. I feel like one of the biggest things, especially having, like I smoked weed daily for like almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And the difference between these is, you know, actually, you know what? Fun fact. I don't care what really anyone says. I think you can get kind of addicted to marijuana addicted in like the cycle of being high. Like you could maybe argue that the substance itself doesn't have like addictive properties like alcohol does. But I think that you like psychologically can get addicted to being in this like like in the cycles of it. So like for example, people say like here's the thing, like people say like, oh, it helps me with anxiety, right? And it's like you smoke and then like you're kind of in your own world, you're like, oh dude, like everything's okay. But then guess what? That spike of anxiety comes back. And sometimes it comes back harder than it did before. And I think that like you can kind of put yourself in this cycle to where like, no, the substance itself is not, you're not gonna like physically be like having withdrawals or anything like that. But I think that like, if you I think that people, and I really can say this from experience. Like I did smoke daily for like 10 years, and there are some things where like you can get addicted to being in that state.
Did you feel there were days where you were incomplete without it? Like let's say you smoked at 1 p.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah.
If you hadn't smoked by 1 p.m. on Sunday, did you feel like I need to do something? Like, was there ever like a kind of why haven't I smoked yet kind of vibe, or like what was that like?
You know what's funny? It's not like that. I feel like it was more habitual than like a oh, I'm fiending for this.
Right.
But I do think that there's like this mindset of like, and my friends can definitely attest to this too, of like, oh, before I do anything, I need to smoke. And I think like that,
like you see like memes and videos and stuff like that, but it's like based off of like that's real.
And
shit.
I think
like,
that in itself is like kind of like a level of like addiction or dependence, right? In that sense. And oddly enough, I really like almost never smoke weed anymore at all, and that's just funny how life goes,
dude. 100%.
And actually, probably the big part of the big reason why I don't smoke anymore is actually because of my experience with psychedelics, and how profound those experiences are, and how non-addictive those substances are, which is also
100%, absolutely. Yeah, we'll get into like my experience with it too, but there's a few that we need to get into.
So this is it. So my next, so the acid was like, first one was like chill, whatever.
Yeah.
The next one was all psilocybin, which is mushrooms, and to this day, like the worst trip of my life, right?
Yeah, it was.
If this does ever go around the interwebs, I would say, if you're out there and you plan on doing it, environment by far is the most important thing. Make sure you are in a safe place. If you are with people, make sure you're around the right people. And treat these substances with intention and respect is my best words of advice. Because God will smack you across the face.
Dude, yeah, the universe will fucking, it'll make you pay. And that's the advice that you gave me before I took it for the first time. I remember, like, asking you about it, and you literally verbatim said to me, like, the same shit, like, take it seriously.
Yeah.
And remember, not only take it seriously, but remember, you are not taking it, it is taking you.
Yeah, it's great, and we'll get into that later, but it's a great way to explain it, is that, like, it's it is a biological substance in the same way that food affects how you feel.
Yeah.
These things will affect how you feel, but exponentially, and numbers don't even explain the scale at which it is. So let's talk about the actual experience.
Yes.
So me and two of my friends, we're like, let's take some shrooms. Mm-hmm. So my one friend had a connection. This is post-COVID. Things are still kind of closed. Things are barely starting to open up. And the, not knowing how important environment is and stuff like that was, we were already smoking weed before it. I don't think we were drinking on this one. I don't think so, but we definitely were smoking.
Yeah.
And the idea was to go to, if you're familiar with, the Pennsylvania area, like Shady Brook, right?
Yep.
Shady Brook Farms, like an outdoor, like, not COVID world. It's like maybe a haunted hayride. Maybe you chill around a fire. Maybe, you eat some food. But it is like
big fall activity.
Fall activity, right?
Yeah.
So when he said that, and again, like not knowing what is in store for what's next, I was like, oh, cool, it sounds like a good idea, right? We're gonna go to chill there, Shady Brook. So it takes a while to settle in, but we take them all. We were not driving. There was no, we were going with other people, so we had rides to accompany us.
Do you remember how much you took?
An eighth. We all took like an eighth each.
Okay.
Which is, if you've never taken it before and you're smoking weed, like that is a very solid amount of just raw. And I think I feel like we ate like peanut butter sandwiches or something like that to do it.
Oh, it's probably gross.
Yeah, it's gross. I mean, shrooms are gross anyway. I mean, now I eat them raw.
It's gotta be in chocolate.
Nah, I eat them raw now to like a psychopath.
Yeah, you are, bro.
But I also drink black coffee and shit, so it's used to it. So we go to this thing, and it was not like an outdoor event. Well, it was an outdoor event, but way differently. It was post-COVID, so there was no. People weren't walking around, going through core maze or anything, or like haunted house or anything like that. This was literally like outdoor seated concert.
Yeah.
Where like we were like ordering food at this thing.
And you want to talk about environment.
Oh my God, it was trash. So it was me and my two friends with 3 other people that were not taking any of the substances we were taking.
Yeah.
And, this is super crazy too. So I remember like sitting down for a while, and I remember like starting to lose it. And if like you've ever watched the Truman Show, where it's like, everyone's looking at you, and like this is like that is the best way to explain the feeling that I started. I'm already crazy and like I'm in my head way too much, but this was like that times a million in a sea full of people, and it was freaking me out. So we're in like a concert, like this, like I said, it's like outdoor concert. Also, too, like fun fact, dude, it was like a trans woman was performing, right? There are trans women performing. My friend's dad, who was there, is wearing a fucking MAGA hat with like the tag still on it.
Oh my God.
So I'm sitting at this table, actually, like funny enough, like getting in an argument with him. I was like, yo, dude, you just bought that hat and brought it here, da da da. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, the hat's still on, right? And meanwhile, like I said, you don't really realize what's happening.
Yeah.
And I know I'm crazy, but my friends are kind of chill. So we're like, bro, we need to walk. So we started walking around and stuff. And again, we like walked to like a shop or something. And like, again, I was like, dude, everyone is fucking looking at us, right? So even to the point where like I was looking at like a street sign, and I was like, this thing doesn't like, what is happening?
Doesn't look real.
Yeah, it's just tripping me out. So I remember sitting for a little bit, and then we go back. I remember like ordering food and like not
obtaining it,
but like it got there, it was like pizza. I'm like, I don't fucking want this thing. You don't want to eat anything, right? I was like, I don't want this shit. I remember going to pay for it, and like the waitress came, and I like remember like trying to like sign my name, and I'm like, bro, what is happening? I don't know what I wrote on this paper. So 2 of the people that were there, not the MAGA hat guy, 2 of the people that were there, I was explaining, I was like, yo, I'm tripping balls. We cannot be here. Like,
this is a bad place.
This is a bad place. So I finally.
How are they reacting? Because you all took the same amount, right?
Yeah, they were pretty chill for the most part. I mean, I think like I think it probably affected me off the deep end the most, but I also think it's because.
Was it their first time?
One of their first times. The other one's not. Definitely not. And so we finally convinced him, like, yo, we gotta leave, right? And like, this is one of the craziest parts of the thing, right? So granted, think of this picture: concert, bunch of seated tables, trans woman singing. This motherfucker's wearing a Make America Great hat again.
Oh my God.
We get up to leave because we're tripping balls. Yeah. Not because of this music or anything, but it was loud as hell, and that did not help the situation.
No, fuck no.
Dude, we got booed as we were leaving.
Dude, getting booed in real life must be like insane.
Fucking nuts, dude.
Like, you're not a fucking, you guys aren't like, celebrities. You aren't fucking, and not only that, you're not on this planet, and you have people who don't even look like they're from this planet booing you.
Oh, dude, it was like, a trip.
That's the Trumanist show shit I've ever heard in my life, but it gets even worse.
Absolute trip. So I think, like, you know, at this point, like, I was starting to recognize that I was like tweaking a little bit, but I was not like fully like off the deep end yet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we drive back home, get away or whatever, and now I'm with my 2 friends who were like, the other people that were sober are gone now.
Yeah.
So I'm just with my 2 friends, and this is where I started just going off the deep end. And I remember we're like laying down on the deck. I remember like talking about like Netflix and Google, and I'm like talking about how all this is fake and like da-da, and like just going, just fucking rattling.
Dude, they really quickly, like, especially like when you're on like psychedelics, like, and I've told you about this, and I know that in other shows, but like technology is like fuck technology.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and that was like, yeah, and that's definitely a very common.
So they go, what the fuck is this thing?
Dude, oh my god, bro, like
foreshadowing. But
yeah, but continue.
So and I remember like like laying on the deck, just like looking at the stars, like just kind of starting to tweak, and then so I got up and I started like walking around. At one point, I think, and besides how crazy this story is, like, the cool, like what it's for is like, you kind of like these skulls here, like you do die, and you don't die if you take like enough, and this is my experience, but in 3 of the like 7 experiences I've had, I've died egotistically, right?
Okay.
So what I mean is that like I literally jumped on top of my friend's car, and like they're like, dude, you need to get down, and I like trust fall backwards off the car, like into the concrete. These fools catch me. Then like for whatever reason, I was like, another common thing is like I think people were like, I thought like they were fucking with me, so I like punched my friend in the chest super hard. Punch Kyle in the chest super hard while we're in this thing, right?
Yeah, I know.
And then and they're like, bro, we need to get this guy the fuck out of here. At one point, actually, also too, we started like going down like the train tracks that are there, and I was like picking up rocks and stuff, and I was like, this shit's not real. And I was like picking up rocks, and I was like climbing walls, and I just started like sprinting. I started sprinting up and down the street.
Didn't you also try to eat a crab apple?
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you Pennsylvania, these fucking like gross ass, I think it's like the green tennis ball looking things.
Yeah.
Dude, these things were like all over the ground.
Yeah,
it's like fall.
Yeah,
dude,
they're called crab
apples. Dude, I picked one of those things up, took a bite out of it. Dude, it was like purely black inside, which is I also think is like some symbolic shit there, right? Because it was just purely black. I had recently fractured my wrist actually in that previous summer, and I remember like trying, like I could feel it. It was my right wrist, and I remember like trying to like fucking stretch / like break my arm off. Like, dude, I literally went off the deep end, and there's some beauty to this at the end.
Oh yeah.
So it was that happened at crab apple. My tongue was all black. I started biting my tongue. Then they call you, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
And they're like, yeah, we need to get this dude the fuck out of here,
dude,
which is fair.
It was like the most random call. It was like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And I believe I had just quit Chick-fil-A.
Oh, okay.
So thankfully, no responsibilities, no nothing, right? Unemployed degenerate, living life.
Yeah.
And I get a FaceTime from a call from a number that's not on my phone.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, well, no scam caller at 2 a.m. is going to try to FaceTime.
Right.
So I answer it, and if we're name dropping, thankfully it was
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
And Kyle's like, Casey? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like, what the fuck's up? He's like, yeah, good. Yeah, please come. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, no, like, you need to come now and get Ryan. I'm like, isn't he with you? He's like, yeah. Yes, you need to get him.
Right.
It's not good. And I hear you in the background, like, yelling, like, just like upset.
I can tell you what I remember, but like
you were like not like upset. I heard you like, Kyle, like just I'm like,
oh shit.
I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, can you drive? And at this point, I was in the process of getting my license, but not yet. So I had to wake mom up at 2 a.m. And I said, Mom, like, I'm so sorry. I would drive if I fucking could, but we need to get Ryan. And she's like, what do you mean we need to get him? I was like, Kyle just called me and Ryan's in trouble.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on. And she was, and then so we drive over there, and I'm going to continue. And so we drive over there, and I see you, Kyle, and another guy, and you, like, run up to me, and you're like, Casey? Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Hey, Casey. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. And you started crying in my arms.
Yeah.
And I'm literally...
A couple things before that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I
poured Gatorade all over my head.
Well, yeah, you were soaked.
Yeah, I was soaked with blue Gatorade.
Yes,
I like
you
poured
were,
a bottle of Gatorade.
I
on top
do
of my head.
remember
Yeah.
not remembering why you were soaked, but yes, you were. And then what before that?
I think that was it, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Say that. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and then what the weirdest part is, I mean, I'm just gonna put you on full blast too. I mean, yeah, you're crying in my arms. Then you told me that I was wearing a hoodie. I think I was wearing like an Edge hoodie or something.
Okay.
And you told me it looked like an eagle or something.
Okay.
You told me it looked like a living thing.
Okay.
And then you also said I was God.
Yeah.
You
I said
told
I
me-
want to kiss you.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was getting there. And then you pulled away from me, and you said, why do I want to kiss you right now? And I said, let's get in the fucking car. I was so mad because I was so fucking tired. And then the funniest thing, dude, we get you back to mom's
So hold
car.
up, let me. Okay, going up to mom's car. So this is like, and for this sounds insane, and it is insane. But like part of the if you real like. Part of the intense experience is like that I've noticed looking back, the common theme is like there's just like coming back to earth moment, and that was the moment. So like it literally was like mom, like the mothership is taking me back,
Dude,
basically.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And sure, so
No, but no, that's yeah. We talked, no, but that's such a good point. Like kind of like, oh my god, like I'm being taken back to my home planet kind of thing.
Yes.
Like I'd left and now I'm coming back.
Yes.
And dude, this is the thing I remember the most too. You like immediately knocked in the back seat, and then you like held your hand out. So like I held your hand, and you were squeezing, like you were trying to like break my wrist basically with how
I was
hard
trying
you,
to break my wrist earlier,
dude,
so
and you were bawling your fucking eyes out crying in the back seat. So then I get you upstairs,
yeah.
and I'm like, all right, let's go to bed. And I was like, I'll be right back. I go to the bathroom. I come back. You are now naked.
Yeah.
And you have pissed over everything. And I literally looked at you. I'm like, I'm just not dealing with it. And I left you. And I closed the fucking door because I literally talked to you. I was like, dude, I hope you understand. I literally said it. I was like, I hope you understand. I cannot be in here right now. And you literally were like, I got it.
Yeah. Dude, so
that was a night.
So that was by far the worst.
Insane.
Like and truly like only the only bad like actual trip that I've had. Yeah, and I really like looking back like attribute that to environment and stuff like that. Dude, if we were just chilling back at home, all that I think none of that happens, and I think that is, you know, my first experience was like that is the most important thing is environment and like who you're around and like what the intention are. There was no intention.
100%.
From that one, dude, like the next couple of days too. Well, the craziest thing is like I was like, damn, like the next couple of days, I remember my tongue was still a little black from eating that bullshit ass apple. And I was like, I feel pretty good though. Like I feel pretty great. And it made you like, you know, there's this like crazy, there's just like a spiritual death that happens essentially. And
I get that.
As we dig further, there'll be some more cool stuff that is not as fucking off the deep end in a different way.
Well, it depends what your definition of off the deep end is.
Yeah.
But so
what's
you know,
next?
so if I had to say, you know, what could be next, I mean, I'm not sure. We might have touched on it a little bit, but like, what do you think? Like, why do you think us as human beings have an infatuation with expanding our minds via psychedelics, and like why do you think we have such an inclination to like want to discover more? Like because a lot of people say like, oh, this is what we have. Like, there's nothing more to discover. So like, why do you think there's some people on the planet who like have such a strong inclination to be like, no, I know I could take certain substances and it'll kind of like open shit up?
Yeah, I would say first off, the people think that this is it. Like, sorry, you're wrong, and it's boring.
Dude, yeah.
And like, I think that, you know, I think we don't know why we want to keep getting better and keep doing things and keep expanding our like, you know, productivity, technology, knowledge. Level of like why we do that. I don't know. You could argue that I could definitely argue that these experiences and these like substances like literally bring you to God, and to however you view that is up to you. But that is, you know, that is really what these are, in my opinion. I think that you are quite literally consuming like a living entity that is not from this planet. I think that if you look back into like crazy enough, even like the origins of like Santa and things of that nature, and how
I have no idea,
dude. So there's some wild stuff, and
really,
actually, a museum I went to in San Diego actually saw this shit for real.
Oh shit!
And how mushrooms, Jesus, Santa, like these connections amongst like red and white is like the color of this. The how it would snow, things would fall, and then these would come from the ground, up from the ground, and that was like this very like religious shamanic practice. There's more to it. I'm gonna butcher a little bit of it for sure, but there's a lot of like, I mean, dude, there's books of like, there's people who believe that like Christianity is like very greatly based on like psychedelics, and that like expanding consciousness like is the way to God, and like that quite literally is it. And through my own personal experience, like I could greatly argue that, and at the end of this, with stuff that was said to me, I will probably fucking blow your mind. But
fucking hell.
But I think that we I don't know, why do even from like a non-psychedelic standpoint, I think like we have, I don't know, why do we want to get better, and that's, like in the same way of like when you get something done, you were talking about like a great thing that you just did, and how you're like, damn, like, am I even supposed to be excited about this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, no, you should be, and it's hard to be excited for yourself, but there's
100.
But we keep doing it. Everyone. If you have genuine intentions about life, like you should want to keep getting better. And why that is, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I totally agree, and I think that there's just like it's just like a level of I mean, at least for me, I think what inspires my pursuit of greatness is just sheer fact that it's possible. Like, you and I bleed the same. Me and Michael Jordan bleed the same.
Sure.
Like, me and LeBron bleed the same. Like, these people who have like achieved like at whatever your fucking passion or profession is, at like the absolute highest tiering level, at one point in time they were just a person before they like ascended into like a mythological being.
Yeah.
And I think that I probably, some people could probably relate to this, but like, just when you see someone doing really cool shit, it shouldn't make you jealous.
Right.
It should like inspire you to want to like do your own great shit. You know what I mean? And I think that there's societal pressure, if you want to call it, but I wouldn't say it's like I think pressure has like a negative connotation. I wouldn't say it's like a negative pressure. I'd say there's like you see greatness around you, which should in turn make you want to be great. But then I think when it comes to like psychedelics, like I alluded to earlier, like and how you stated plainly, like if you think that this is all there is, I mean, come on.
I'm not even here to debate you. You're wrong. Straight up. Yeah. And I used to think that, dude. I used to think, if you talk about like,
it's like afterlife, or like what are we talking?
I mean, I just feel like we were. Our dad comes from a Irish Catholic family. Our mom comes from an Italian Catholic family. Neither of them had any good experience with those entities.
Yeah.
And then so nothing was brought to us from like a religious, from like a standpoint of that nature. So
right.
I think the blessing of that is that it gave me the freedom to kind of go my own route and figure things out.
100%.
And I think through those ventures, like, you're talking about like success, and like we do have this like willingness and like drive to expand. And I would say like the biggest things that this does from like a success standpoint is like increases your like capacity to love people. So when you go through these like breakdowns, right? Like you got to break some eggs to make an omelet. Like the only way to like get out of like your ways that are stuck, I feel like, on these grand levels is through this. And I mean, that's a hot take in itself, I'm sure, but like it really made me, and still does, like make me more consciously like connected to people around me. I used to be a cocky fuck, and I would say that's different now. It's like definitely confident, but I understand now what power and like ability I have to like help people, and not in like a selfish way.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of that selfishness to selfless has come from these experiences.
Dude, yeah. I can definitely see that, especially like with like the experience that I had. But I did want to ask you, as you kind of alluded to it earlier, but like, would you say that with the multiple experiences that you've had so far, and we'll kind of get into them later, but for right now, would you say that you, layman's terms, did you get what you were looking for? Like, did you, like, every intention that you set out for these experiences, were your expectations met, surpassed, like, maybe below expectation? Like how would you say that, like, when you're going into one of these experiences, like, understanding that, like, you're about to take, like, it's like that one, like, meme of, like, Bryan Cranston, like, Malcolm in the Middle, he's like, once you go down this path,
Sure,
there is no turning
it's like
back.
Alice in Wonderland, dude.
Exactly.
Once you go jump down the hole, you can't. There's no going back, dude.
So would you say that you've, in every aspect, found what you're looking for?
I would say,
or do you think there's still more to discover?
Loaded question. I think the first one, and the only experience that I've explained, had no intention. There was no intention besides let's fucking do this, bro. Like that was the only intention. There was no like, oh my God, I'm gonna like figure myself out through this.
Yeah.
I think every time, like specifically with psilocybin afterwards, was it's kind of like this, man. Like if you believe in a higher power, like each time after that, I did go into it with like hey, like this is what I want, or I would like set boundaries for myself in terms of like what I can't do.
Right.
And every single time that I did it, whatever expectations you realize that like, you know, like these earthly expectations, you might get some of it, but you're gonna get blown out of the water in like ways you can't even explain, that you cannot explain until you take it. And like there are things that like you don't remember, like, and not in a bad way, but like as you're going, like when like for me anyway, like some people say that, dude, they just like vibe out and they're chilling. Like, dude, mine have been insanely intense, and I can only speak for what I've experienced. But like with some of the ones that I've gone through, I wouldn't even say that I got out like what I was expecting. It's usually like some completely different outcome that you're like, oh shit, I know why that had to happen, but that's not what like I was thinking about going in, you know? Yeah, I think intent is extremely important. I think if you know, everyone's different in terms of this. You know, I like to be alone when it comes to this kind of stuff. And maybe there's something to be said about that, and it's in itself. But you know, I find a lot of solace in taking this stuff on myself. And it's not something also too, like, this is not something I do all the time. I would really say, and more to how I feel about everything, is that I feel called to take stuff. Or I feel called to like experiences. Like after this last one I had, like last year in Christmas, I literally am like, you know what? I'm probably good for like a long time after this. And I think the best way to explain it is that I feel called to do them.
As opposed to like, you're like, oh, I'm deciding I want to do it.
Besides, I'm just going to drink on a Friday night with my friends because let's get drunk.
Right.
It's different. It's way different. They're not even on the same dimension.
Damn. Okay. Well, we did put it like a kind of a silly one that I wanted to get to as well. Especially because, you know, we're going to get to the other experiences that you've taken, you know, alone, especially how you like alluded to earlier. But I wanted to ask, do you think before politicians take office, should they be required to trip?
Yeah, all atheist rooms to the domes, put them in a fucking Chuck E. Cheese or some shit, and let them go haywire. But
Could you imagine a 70-year-old senator just whacked out of his fucking mind on acid?
They should, dude. They absolutely should, man. You know, this, I mean, there's a reason why like this stuff has been tested and experimented on behind the scenes for so long. It's not a trick. There's a reason why it's been like hidden from these like ancient cultures that have been doing this for so fucking long,
dude.
And it, you know, you've been told that it's like not good, and that like the only thing is in front of you is like these material things, and it's not true.
I've read in on
true.
like these like experiments that like the CIA used to do like in the 60s and the 70s, and like how they would have like controlled like, and they would do it like on like kids, like 10-year-old kids, like groups of, like 20 to 30 of them. I'll pull something up in a clip, you know, after this, but like how like they would give them like fucking ketamine and like for like daily, and like just like monitor their brain waves and like all the, but then the whole time they were like trying to tell us that like marijuana was like the fucking Spanish devil and like all this shit and like a propaganda, but like behind the fucking scenes they were drugging the fuck out of like these kids.
A bunch of people, dude. People that didn't know. I mean, bro, this is like we're going down that Rogan world, but like, dude, it talks about the CIA was doing this thing where they were giving like they were getting like strippers to drug random people to see what would happen, and they were watching behind like a two-way mirror.
Bro, what the fuck?
Like some of the most like
diabolical,
like sinister shit you could think of, and it was just normal practice for the government and these agencies. And that's just like anything, man. Like, you know, you could say anything can be good or bad, like for real, and it's fucking wild. Should politicians do it? Yes, I think a lot of people do it. I think a lot of people would not fucking hate themselves and not hate the people around them because of it if they went through these experiences.
I think that at least everybody at one point in their life after the age of like 21, and then like they get to choose what age, you know, where, what, should take shrooms at one point in their life, no matter what.
And maybe you need to do it in like a controlled environment or with like a fucking guide or some bullshit. You know, I have a question for you though as we're going through this is like, being how crazy I am, and like you've definitely, we've like talked before and like alluded, like, you know, whether you like it or not, like unfortunately you've had to be in my shadow at some points in your life, right?
Yeah.
So especially like after that first one, like were you like, bro, fuck, this guy's crazy and I'm never taking this stuff, or like did you even think maybe you didn't even think about it, honestly, maybe it was not an impact at all. But.
So there was definitely an impact, and it definitely was. It was kind of one of those moments where like, how do I say this, right? So like, at that point especially, because like we went like a whole kind of lifetime, I'd call it, of just like combative, and like AKA you were just trying to be a good brother and you were hard on me, and I was just like, oh, I'm a sensitive little pussy and he fucking hates me. And then one day I woke up and I was like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. So then like my respect meter out of 100 was like 100.
Yeah.
So after this event I was like, oof, this guy, he can make mistakes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think with that, it definitely, and you know this too, but like I was always like on the straight and narrow. Like I was like very like publicly, like, well, as public as I could be anyway.
Yeah.
Like straight edge. You know what I mean? Like I didn't drink. I definitely wasn't doing drugs, even though I was, you know, accused plenty of times. And that was like another thing where I had thoughts and ideas of possibly like, oh, like, you know, like maybe like taking acid or shrooms or like or something like that could be cool. I saw that happen to you and I was just like, all right, maybe I can wait.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to do that right now. But yeah, it definitely did affect my perspective and viewpoint on, you know, because I feel like I consider us like pretty similar. So I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, if that happened to Ryan, that could definitely happen to me.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like getting naked and pissing everywhere and trying to kiss my brother and
naked on psychedelics is like that's it'll happen, man. You just get really high, you're like, fucking need to get rid of all these clothes. Actually, the second time I did acid, I was in Miami and I definitely got naked at one point in front of my friends and then went to sleep for a while.
You want to deliver on that story?
Yeah, we can hop that. That actually is the next one. So I think that was like, COVID was 2020, so probably
this is 2021.
So I think, you know, the one thing about it, like after that, is that it did kind of like because I've heard of how great people have had experiences from it. I was like, dude, fuck, like I know that this shit's like, it sucked and was good, and there's different things about it, but I was like,
I know it's cool.
Yeah, and I know that we need to do this in like the right way, and not that Miami is the right way. And it's a different world, right? And yes, I'm fucking crazy, but it's beside the point. So
this guy.
All right, so we took a trip to Miami, me and some friends. You actually show up later, like halfway through the trip.
Yeah.
That first half of the trip, though, we did. This was the second, and again, like at LSD. I never need to take this shit again. Second time I took LSD. This one was definitely a little different.
South Beach, right?
Yes, South Beach from Miami. It was pretty cool for a while, and you know we had this like dope location of our Airbnb and stuff, and we were like right across the street from the beach.
It's badass.
And it'd be funny to see like what these other people have to say about this part, because some of the things I don't remember. But
okay.
I have there was like a trigger point for me during this thing, and it's very interesting. So we went to the beach for a while. We were actually like throwing a football around. It was a good time.
Fire.
I remember at one point there's this like woman like laying down on the beach by herself, and we were like just chilling in the sand and shit. Like she was like looking at us and like laughing, and like, dude, I thought it was like a fucking demon was talking to us or some shit. I was like, yo, guys, what the fuck is going on over here?
She just definitely knew that you guys were off your rocker.
She probably did, dude. She probably did. I remember we recorded some like GoPro footage and shit over there, but this was just like all vibes at the beach.
Yeah.
And then when we went back, we were this is one of the weirdest nights actually in Miami, but we were chilling for a while, and I remember that I was just like, shit started getting weird. I remember like sitting on the couch. I remember like taking my clothes off. Like getting like naked in front of my friends, and they're like, Ryan, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing, to be honest with you right now. And like that's what's so like funny.
Well, like, did you just continue to take your clothes off?
No.
Or did you like?
They were like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, actually, I don't really even know.
Good call.
So yeah. So like there's but like there's no way to explain that. Like it's just so different. It's such a different thing. So we're in the place, and then I remember like I went back into my room for a little bit, and I was like laying down. I kind of was getting a super dark spot, and then I remember like talking to them, and dude, they were both standing in front of me at the same time. And they're like what do you want to do? Like, do you want to do more shots? Do you want to do this? Da da da. And like when that question was asked to me, it was like this trigger of like, oh, I don't really fuck with them right now, and it freaked me out. Like when they asked me like, oh, do you want shots? It was like a fucking, I don't know how to explain it, like a
fucking demon,
kind of. But it was like what more could you get from this? Do you want alcohol? Do you want boom boom boom? And I was like, whoa, what the fuck? So I literally went to sleep, and I was in there for a long ass time, and literally just in a dark room, like
damn
pitch black room, just laying there. You can't sleep, by the way, when you're going through these experiences. So I wasn't really sleeping. I was just laying there and just like staring. I really felt like, from like this is like one of those moments where I'd say like I kind of did die a little bit. Like felt like I was like but I eventually did come back. When I got out, I remember they were like downstairs like talking to these girls and shit, and I was chilling with them, and everything was fine from like a psychedelic standpoint from that moving forward. So that was like the first one, but that was just, for the most part, vibes. Little weird thing of me just fucking taking my clothes off and then just laying in a dark room for a while.
Yeah, getting naked is a part of the game, I guess.
Hey man, it's fucking.
Fuck these clothes, dude.
I mean, I don't fucking need these clothes, dude. I'm hot, dude.
It's a choice.
My balls was hot. I need to get these. Bro, that just scared the shit out of me. That sounded like it was here.
Oh, I know. I don't know if you guys heard that. We have hopefully fixed the microphone issues. Someone in some kind of crazy sports car or something.
That just sounded like it was
Dude, it
right
sounded like
here.
a fucking ghost.
That's probably because we're talking about what we're talking about, bro. Hey, look, man.
That did terrify the shit out of me.
That's a fucking trip, dude.
Funny enough, I was going to ask you when you were in like that dark room,
yeah.
Like, did you feel like anything was like watching over you or anything? Or did you feel alone?
Good question. No, the only thing that was weird was there was a TV playing in the background, and I don't remember what it was about, but I felt like the TV show was talking about what was happening to me.
Dude,
they weren't even in the room anymore.
No, but that's pretty common.
Yeah.
Like, I just watched this TikTok of someone talking about like they had like a trip experience, and they said that they were just like watching like they were watching like a nature documentary or something, and apparently like YouTube on their TV, and like if you're watching like YouTube on their TV, like it's not just gonna like change by itself or something.
Yeah.
And this dude said, he's like, yeah, like I was watching that and I blinked and it turned into like this like heavy metal music video that was like coming through the screen.
Yeah, dude,
and so like that's like a pretty like common thing, like programming like can definitely like kind of fuck with you.
I mean, and it kind of like in a way it kind of makes sense if you think that like we all are part of this one consciousness situation. Yeah. Well, then if that is something that someone made, then that can kind of be a part of like what you're experiencing at that time, and it kind of does make sense.
Connected.
Yeah, I feel like it was just like I don't think it was bad or good. I just felt like the TV show was talking about what was happening to me, and then
like narrating your current life.
Yes, dude, and it was fucking strange. And then honestly, the rest of that was a good time, dude. Like literally, once I got out, I went down. They were like chill with these girls, talking to them. It was all good. And
Miami was sick.
Miami was great. And then you got there, great time too. Fucking probably have someone. Miami will probably come up here shortly in maybe like a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it should. That's a little teaser.
Probably come up here on what that was a great vacation. It was.
That was a wild weekend.
And so like that was that, man. And then 2021. That was like right before I moved to California.
Yep.
And then
like literally like weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And then every experience after that was by myself. So, and I think that was like super important. And that's where like I really started to understand like this different side and like how this is great. I actually have a funny off tangent one about when should I just keep going?
Yeah.
All right. So we lived together for like 2 years basically in San Jose. We've talked about all that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had mentioned like you had like a minor experience and you just talked about it in a bit, but like my next one really, I wouldn't even say it was experience. And like, I know these all sound crazy profound, but like basically my friend gave me a chocolate bar, which is chilling. And I had gone through these bullshit ass surgeries. So I was just chilling by myself, like in this place or in our house. And this one was like super chill. Like I remember popping like half a chocolate bar, whatever the case was. And this was one of those times that like other people talk about where like, dude, it was just all colors. It was all vibes. I was just watching the sunset, just chilling, just like looking. I was like, this is great, right? And like that was like my next one. And then, which was cool because I was sitting there, I have all these surgeries done. I'm just staring at a wall for so much time, right?
Yeah.
This is a good time. And then we're going to fast forward to April of 2023. And then this is going to be the second to last of these last two. And this was pretty funny. So I Airbnb downtown San Diego for a month. Like my plan was like, I'm going to grab an Airbnb for a month. I need to like find an apartment. This will be the time to do so. And so that's what I did. Well, funny enough too about this experience and about weed, I kind of already slowed down a little bit. I was still smoking when I got out to California. I kind of started like slowing down a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
And mostly just because I just felt like I was like, you can't be social, and I just felt like I was not doing anything productive. Like literally, it seems like the like, oh, you're gonna sit there and smoke weed. And it's like I just felt like I was way more. I just enjoyed being sober. Actually, it's kind of way I enjoyed being sober and like locked in versus like not being in my mind, right? Like it can let you escape in a sense or numb in a sense. And like I was
gonna say it's more of like a numbing, and then you kind of have to almost fight to get out of it.
Yeah,
like you have to fight to get out of that feeling of being high, and that sometimes is not fun.
And it's time consuming too. Like if you think about it, like that is what your time is taking up, and I'm not doing it. Like I'd rather be like now. I'd rather be locked in,
Yes.
and that's kind of where it was. So I Airbnb to this apartment I had a nice condo thing downtown just for a month, and I was looking to just order some weed, right? Literally just moved to California, in my new Airbnb, just kind of chilling, hanging out, and I'm like, this would be a great time to smoke, right? Why not?
I mean, yeah. It's so accessible here, you know what I mean? And just
pull it up on my phone, dude.
Touch your phone.
And then so I'm looking through the apps and stuff, and I like funny off story. Actually, I go to like the physical location of like one of these places. I'm like looking up all these places, right? I have no idea where I'm at, and these delivery services have like just fake coordinates. So it's just like if you look it up in maps, it's like a real place, but you get there and it's just nothing's there. It's just like a fake place. So I'm like, I walked like literally like a mile, whatever, to this delivery service that doesn't exist. I'm like, all right, fuck it. So I go back to my apartment. Shit. It's only delivery service, and the one that I pull up is literally like I find one or whatever. I pull it up, and at the top literally straight at the top says, order some mushrooms. And I was like,
on a weed app?
On a weed app. And I was like, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
Like, I guess this is the time is now, right? Like this is what we're going to do. And like I said before, right? I feel called. I feel like timing is necessary on most of these things. And so I was like, fuck it, dude. I had also too, a little background is I moved to San Diego and I had a week off before I started work. Yeah. So this is like middle of the week. I'm like, it's exploring a little bit, doing this. I'm like, this would be a great time for like a mental reset. Kind of like like a good little reset, kind of re-tap in and have a fresh start, basically, because that's kind of like what it is, you know.
Well, like after like that first shrooms experience that you had, what made you think that doing it again by yourself would be considered like a fresh start?
Yeah, I mean, because you die, right? Like that is kind of part of it. Like you know, as scary and like terrifying and all that was, there is a part of you that literally dies, and there is like, even though it was scary in that moment, like the backside of it was like bliss and like, oh wow, I feel so much more connected and like appreciative of like what's around me because of you know what had happened. So. And you know, new area, new territory. I felt safe in this environment. Like I'd mentioned before, the environment's like super important. So I order them and I'm chilling, and so you get an eighth, and I was like, you know, also too
Chocolate or just
straight shrooms,
straight
shrooms, brother. Yeah, literally the straight thing. Like literally, I mean, when I go hard, when I do things, I go hard, right? And like even to something of this degree. So yeah, I know the food, and I actually kind of fasted going into it. I forget the exact amount of hours, but I know I want to tell you, like close to a 24-hour before I went into it, and I did this on purpose.
Whoa, why?
Well, if again, more to like just recollection of the first experience, like I had smoked, and I'm pretty sure we were drinking, if I'm being honest. And I think that like with how much like respect and like intent and you know understanding of what this kind of is and like what path you're going down, I was like, you know what, you need to take this. These should be respected, and I should be taking this sober.
Yeah.
And not like having any sort of like mind altering. And if you do look into, there is a lot of, you know, one of these books that I'm reading that I kind of never finished, but I read a decent amount that talked about like these ancient rituals and things of that nature.
Oh, I
they
remember.
had like some of these places had like a 7-day ritual prior where you were like only eating certain things and then like fasting in between certain days before you took it.
Do you remember what the book was called?
Oh yeah, it's called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. It's literally about like how shrooms are Christianity is based on psychedelic experiences, and
damn,
yeah. So, you know, giving myself some rules, right? You know, last time I'd mentioned that like I like almost bit my tongue off. I was eating random things. I tried like breaking my wrists off, like I think I had fractured. And I was like, you know what? Going into this one, it's gonna be a little more. Let's lock in. And I was like, so my real two rules I said out loud, you know, like prayers or whatever you want to say them. And I'm like, hey, we're gonna lay these rules out. Was, you know, no body alterations, and you're not allowed to leave the apartment, right? So
I mean that just makes sense.
And these are things I felt like if I said prior, then I wasn't gonna like go off those outside of the boundaries, essentially.
Yeah, it's powerful speaking like speaking out words of like what your like true goals are, and like so like for this exact moment you're like, I am not going to do this and I'm not going to do that, you know what I mean? It's the same thing of like when people say like you get more out of like writing something down, like for real more than just like typing it in your phone. There's like more of a neural connection.
You were like connected to it, right? Yes, you know.
Exactly.
And then this one was great, man. So like I didn't take the full eighth. I took, I want to say probably like close to 3, because the next couple of days after this, there's a different little thing that happens.
Okay.
But you know, the beginning of it was very visual. In the other thing too that happens for me is everything around you, like everything gets really small, like in the sense of like you feel like you're really in this room, like you are confined to like the walls around you, and there's not really much more going on. And it was very visual at first. Like there was some cool artwork that was in this apartment. So I was like, I was like watching some things start to move a little bit. We're kind of just chilling and just kind of exploring. You know, what's funny is, especially too with all of, this is an interesting thing, with all of the procedures I've had, I've felt my right foot was like feeling really like loose and like connected, and I was like, why does my foot feel like this?
Like in a good way?
In a good way, yeah. I was like, this is weird, like I'm like hitting some like neurons that like haven't been hit in a while, which was cool. And then, you know, there's a lot of for me, a lot of like looking in the mirror, just like literally staring into your own soul is like something, you know, which again, you know, it's different. And I wouldn't. This is actually a good point to say. I feel like, you know, what I've learned is like as you consume them, you know, imagine like you're literally digesting some like entity that's not from here, right? So like as it's going through your digestive tract, like different parts start to activate. So
really quickly, have you ever heard of like, because I'll get into this later, but no, you're good. About like the rule of no mirrors. Like you're not supposed to look into mirrors when you're tripping. Like question, I'm just asking, did you ever hear that before?
I never heard it. I
And
never heard
then
that. Nah.
Hearing that now, do you think like the experiences that you had, like do you think like things could maybe like went wrong, or or did you like feel like when you were looking into this mirror at yourself for a long time, like did you feel in total control, I guess?
Well, I'll tell you what, like with how bad that first experience was, there was no mirrors at all. I never looked in a mirror the whole entire time. With this one, like I was just like in an apartment, there's like bathroom mirrors and stuff, so I was just like looking at them. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I feel like literally I was like getting lost and like looking into my own like soul for whatever reason that is, or however else to explain it. But I think, like part of your question is there to some extent there's no way to explain it, and that's why I don't think it's like, I don't think it's really good or bad to do to the mirror thing. I don't know. I think that's maybe like a person to person thing. I'm not exactly sure, but I had no trouble with it.
Well, I'll definitely get into my experience later.
Yes.
But continue.
So this one, and like this is like, the beautiful parts of it is at one point, and if you like people, this is interesting. Talk about the whole psychedelic to Christianity thing, right? This is very interesting because there's a big part, or not a big part, and it's kind of like a taboo part of Christianity is that people talk about like speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
I mean, like I'm familiar in the sense of like just like a loose general knowledge, but I know that that's definitely like, I mean, like as like a massive like horror movie fan, like Christianity is like a thematic that they jump into like a lot, like especially like with like demons and like fucking like paranormal activity, like things of kind of that nature. And funny enough, I think kind of similarly, remember that show we were watching on Netflix, Archive 81?
Yes.
There's like a scene where the main character, well, the like secondary main character, the girl like, from like the 80s or whatever, she like is in the hotel, and then remember she like hears like through the vents of like the character like of like the fucking like cult inside of this hotel like speaking like in tongues and shit.
Yeah, they were doing like some like chanting. I would say like the difference is that like the speaking tongues is supposed to be like you were just I mean, it's similar. It is similar, and that's actually why exactly what you're saying is why like some people say that it's like demonic and that it's not a part of God and things of that nature.
Yeah. So how could you explain it?
Well, when you go through these, like there is a very like verbal sense to it, and I don't even consider that I was speaking in tongues, but there are similar things to where like you start to just like humming and like just more like outward, like there's like a vibration, like a
like you were humming to yourself.
Yes, and there's like a cyclical like vroom 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 vroom, and like that like imagine like
you're like a fan or something, or like a motor,
like a fan, or like exactly like some sort of like a generator, like a thing is spinning
like
around
motor,
a generator,
like a
and you start to like vibe at like a certain frequency.
Oh shit!
And
you were buzzing.
I was literally buzzing, and well, funny enough, man, like how like part to like say like God is love.
Yeah.
Well, dude, for like a majority of as I was getting really into the deep parts of this one, like the word love, and I want to say love, and like the best way to explain it is more like LUV, because it was like love, vroom, vroom, and like the word and vibration were just being like pulsed over and over and over, like for a long time, to the point like it brought me to tears and stuff, and like I was like, it was that's kind of what I think, like I said, the beauty of this is that like you start to learn that like all of this is just love.
Were you listening to anything? Any music?
No, I was not.
Silence.
No, this was just
other than you.
Yeah, just me laying. Actually, I was laying down at this point. At one point, I would say one of the more, like, you said, like, what do you want from it, or like, what can you get from it?
For sure.
Not to say that I wanted this for it to happen, but what did I get from it is I have and I'm not exactly sure the parts of the timeline of the trip, but at one point I was sitting on the balcony of this Airbnb, right?
Okay.
And like I said, I gave myself rules to not leave. And this balcony, I was on the first floor, so it wasn't like I was going to jump off. I was super chilling. But I had bought some weed too, right? So the best way to explain this is I'm sitting down. on the balcony, and then right across the street from the Airbnb was a park.
Okay.
And I may have told you this before, but there's a park and like trees. Something about like the way that nature is connected, and the other thing about these is you feel these like you can feel things like feels like they're breathing,
dude.
Right?
Yup.
And there's there's actually like a lot of like science that says now that like these plants and things might be talking to each other a lot more than we perceive that they're talking to each other, which is very interesting.
What the fuck,
dude? Like a quick example is like, you ever see these trees that they grow, and when they grow they don't touch, their leaves don't ever touch, and it makes these crazy cool patterns.
Yes.
And it's like they are keeping boundaries from each other on purpose. Weird shit. I forget where the trees are, but I did see that. It's pretty cool. But anyway,
that's gnarly.
Nature's way more connected than we think it is.
100%. That doesn't surprise me.
And we are connected to nature more than we think we are. But anyway, so back to this is actually it'd be cool if we still had that coffee mug here, but it's fine. I'm sitting on the balcony, and I have like, if I split my vision down the middle of my face, to the right side is the park. I see these trees and things like that. And then to the left side is like the man-made structure of the apartment, and like the rest of like the concrete and stuff like that. Beautiful apartment. But I'm looking at that, and then smack dab in the middle is on the like little like outdoor table. I had a coffee mug with a joint like kind of like leaned up against it.
Yeah.
So this is like smack dab in the middle. Imagine the picture. There's like a structure to my left, which is the apartment. To the right is like nature and things of this, right? And in the same way that like the thing love was being said to me over and over again, while I was just looking at this, I start centering in on this joint, and the words that are said to me were just get rid of it.
What the fuck?
Like specifically the phrase get rid of it.
Question, do you feel like you heard this out loud, or was it just in your head? Because I believe that you heard it, but I'm curious, like, did the voice sound like it was coming from inside of your own conscious, or did it sound like there was like an entity with you and it spoke out loud?
Good question. I would say it was not out loud. Like,
Okay.
I don't think, how like earlier we were talking about like the TV, and like I heard that, I thought it was talking to me with like that. It's not like that. It's more like you're in communication with something, and it was not out loud, but it was telling me.
It was like within you.
Yes. Like, hey, get rid of it. I think that a lot of these, like if you take enough and you go down, you take like a X amount of dose or whatever, I kind of think, like, my theory is that you're allowing some entity being, or the mushrooms, like, I'll explain, like, you're not taking them, they're taking you.
Yeah.
And like in a crazy way, I feel like they kind of get to rent out your body for X amount of time. The closest comparison would be to say you're playing a video game, and to us, if I hop into like Skyrim, and now this is my person that I get to run around and like use to like do all these things, like imagine like we are the game for them, and they get to use us for a little bit.
Have you ever heard of like astral projection? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
So like when like people who believe, or not even believe, like they just do, like they have the ability to, like when they fall asleep, like they can escape their body.
Yeah.
And like they can like fly, like they like you like kind of feel yourself wake up, and and then you look down and you see yourself sleeping, or you see yourself sitting down and stuff. And then like, I mean, it just kind of reminds me of like the movie like Insidious, like
yes.
That's kind of what that movie is based off of, like when he goes into like the further
little kid,
and then like a demonic being takes over the father's like vessel. So in this way, you're inviting like a natural earthy entity to kind of like take over.
Sure.
Like, it's kind of like taking the wheel of your brain for X amount of time.
Yeah. And I don't think it's malicious. I think that's one of the biggest differences there. And like with this one too, like, so like one of the biggest takeaways was like get rid of it, of weed.
Yeah.
And then you do like the other thing kind of towards the end was like I was laying down in the bed, and like the end of it is like this coming back to earth moment. And during this, like, along with that like love message, it was like, kind of like to live is to die. And I would say one of the the coolest things about this too is anything can happen in life, truly. Like, you know, people say, oh, you can walk outside and like get hit by a bus or something like that. But I think that like one of the biggest takeaways of all of this is like I do not fear death. Like there is no part of me that walks around fearful for my life. And that is like empowering in a sense, and yeah, that is like one of those big takeaways from that.
Damn. Okay. Damn. So that was 2023.
April of 23.
Yeah.
One of the more fun stuff to do, and we'll get into yours after this. One of the funny off tangent things about this is, like I said, I had a week off before I started work. So let's say I took this like, I don't know, I think it was like mid week of April of 2023. So it was like the 3rd or the 4th, probably around my birthday, which perfect too. But well, there was a gaming event in San Diego. DreamHack goes to San Diego.
Okay.
With my big gaming background, I'd actually not been to any sort of event or tournament in like at least 5 years at this point.
Damn.
And I was like, you know what, man, it'd be cool to like just be in that environment and see what's up, right? So I got like 1 day pass, and they had like there's like a Rocket League major was going on. I actually watched Rocket League,
which was dope.
That's pretty sick. And it was the preview, like the like first time trial of Counter-Strike Go 2, like the new Counter-Strike 2, right? The new, or not Go 2, but a new CS2, right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
And so this is like the first time that anyone in the public got to play it.
Like a beta?
Not even like a beta, like just in person you got to play the game. And it's CS is like Counter-Strike is relatively the same game, you know, it's just like, but it was cool because it was new that was there.
Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't take the whole dosage, so I had like a little bit left. So the next few days, like I was microdosing, like I was taking just a little bit. And the cool thing about that is like when you would walk around, like something that's interesting too, and this whole like connection is that when I would walk around to random people, not that I was talking to them, but I felt connected to people.
Their energy.
I felt like, and I felt, you know, a lot of people say this too, like your vision's a little sharper, like you see things just clearer. And so which is interesting is because hot take, but they had this like 1v1 tournament for Counter-Strike at this event. Okay. True story. This is hilarious. So I had been playing a lot of Valorant, which is basically the same aiming, essentially same aim and PC, shoot, right? Just different kind of thing now. And there's this 1v1 like King of the Hill tournament essentially where like it's a Friday night where basically like if you had won, you were up there, like people were standing in line to go. You're the next challenger. So you go up there, or if you're already winning, I go up there. If I beat you, then I like take over, and the next person comes over. In this case, so I was like, you know what, fuck it, dude. Let's see what's up with CS2. Like, why not, right? And you know, it's not like there was pros and shit there or anything like that, but it was funny because I'm like standing in this line, I'm just chilling. Like I said, I'm just microdose streams before I got there. I'm just like, you know, vibing, and I get into this 1v1 tournament, and it was like on like a 3-hour countdown. And the guy that was up there had won a decent amount before that. And it was just like 1v1s where like, imagine like, do you remember the Halo Forge map where you would just spawn in? It was just a 1v1. You were just looking at each other. Yeah. Kind of like that, but with like a little more like obstacles and shit like that. Yeah. It was like 1v1, like just killing the rounds over.
Like almost like a gulag kind of looking?
Yeah. Kind of like Gulag's a good example. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good call out. And, I was up there for like an hour 45. I beat this kid. He was the hardest one I had to beat. The one who was up there for a while. And I fucking won this tournament, dude.
Holy shit.
I won it.
Did you have to pay to enter?
Nah, it was free. Walk up. I won $1,000. And
I feel like I don't remember hearing about this.
It's pretty dope, man.
Dude, that's awesome.
I did take a picture and put it on my Twitter. So it's funny, though. It's like I fuck with my friends and say, like, yo, I think, like, probably for a moment in time that I was, like, the most winningest Counter-Strike 2 player in the world. Because it wasn't even out yet, and it was just this like,
you were fucking slaying, dude.
And it
left and right.
So it was cool shit, but it was like right after the mushroom trip, by the way, like badass. Literally right after it, which was
fucking
funny.
Opened your third eye.
Yeah, man, and like it does. It's very, and it was weird. Like even when I was sitting up there, I was like, I'm gonna win this shit. I just knew.
Damn.
I just like knew it was gonna happen, and I was like, it was weird. I was like, all right, just keep it chill.
Clearly, you have an experience. You have this experience just winning in these like fucking free for all style kind of tournaments, dude.
Actually, that's a good point. Yeah.
MW3.
Yes. You know so, I mean? And it was cool though, man, because I hadn't been in a gaming world in a while, and like I won this tournament.
Yeah, kind of give you some like like
"Ah,
fucking
fuck
little
yeah,
mojo.
dude."
Yeah.
I was walking around feeling myself, but no one to celebrate with because I'm by myself in San Diego,
Right.
which was hilarious.
It also probably reminded you, like, oh, I used to do this shit professionally.
Facts, yeah. So there's that part too. You know, it was really cool.
Oh my god, it reminds really quick. It
Yeah.
reminds me of I saw this clip. You remember Jason Worth, the
Yeah.
Phillies baseball player?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, he so his like one of his like hometown buddies like asked him like, hey, like I have I'm in a softball league. Like, would you want to like just like pull up for a game? And he's like, like I don't really. And he's like, come on, like just like one like at bat, like just it would just be so cool if you're there. Jason Worth walks up to the plate, fucking smokes this ball like 400 yards. Walks the bases and is like, all right, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But like, just like, dude was in the MLB for like 10, 12
And good,
years,
too.
and great, you know, in his prime, and then like to just walk up in this like adult softball league, murder a ball, and
See
just
you
say,
later.
all right, see ya.
It's been real, guys. And yeah, man. So that was that, dude. You know, what's funny too is like, and after that one, like the best way, like I said, I feel like called, and that was April of 2023. And then my last one was not until this past Christmas. So I think like in between, you know, like I've been chilling. Like I said, I feel called to it. And you know, right before this happened, you actually had like one of your first run-ins with anything of this nature. And
Dude, yeah.
tell us about it.